Normally, at nights, sorry about that. Normally at nights, I'm doing a review of hockey games that took place. There was 3 tonight. I was at work for them. While I was at work, I got very angry, trying to figure out what I was going to do my video on tonight. So instead, let's talk about we'll just ignore that I'm wearing a hockey jersey. Just pretend I'm not. You mean hockey guy's not doing a review because he's going to talk about Star Wars? Yeah. Right now, Last Jedi is performing very well in the theaters, but some idiots have decided that they're going to ruin the Rotten Tomatoes score as if that's going to make anybody not go see the movie. I get there's some people who don't like the movie. They are in the minority, same as in The Force Awakens. They are in the minority. And, you know, I understand that people get upset and they find like-minded people online and they get this feeling like, oh, there's this huge movement against a movie and maybe it shouldn't be, you know, part of canon, blah, 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 blah. All right. So, problems with Empire. Oh, yeah, I went there. When we did the review for Last Jedi, I said, you know, I had a lot of criticisms and it was pointed out, well, you have criticisms for the movie, but you give it a 10 out of 10. Yep, and I give Empire a 10 out of 10. It's still got problems. My biggest problem with the movies, and Star Wars in general, is AT-ATs. Oh, I love the AT-ATs too. They're these big lumbering beasts, aren't they? And they're really, really, really bad. They're horrible. They weigh like 11 billion tons. They move very, very slowly. They give your enemy plenty of time to prepare for a battle. Because in Empire, they have them at the horizon. But they're still loud enough that they're like Imperial walkers on the North Ridge, and they have time to mobilize themselves. And I don't understand. I to this day don't understand that there's these shields which can withstand any bombardment. Rebels have a shield up that can withstand any bombardment, which means the AT-ATs have to go down. Well, how'd the AT-ATs get through it? They're huge. You should just send down fighters. Oh, it's too cold. But AT-ATs are made for the cold? That's not established in the movie. They don't go to Hoth with the idea, like Hoth is just like found by this like the little robot thing that's flying around, the little droid. And the rebels are there. General, you know, General Veers, prepare your men. And then they all get ready, and AT-ATs are just ready for the cold. They're just ready to go. We're all good. And so they're going, I'm guessing they're landing outside the shield, right? So they don't have a ship that can go around the shield. And they can't hit that shield so hard that they bust it with the laser cannon from a Star Destroyer? I'm bewildered. The other thing that bewilders me from that battle is, so the rebels have an ion cannon. It's a good thing it's pointed directly at a ship, because the Empire only sent 2 or 3. There it is. There's a rebel base. We're going to take 2 or 3 ships and go deal with it, rather than the whole fleet. Can kill the rebels and wipe them out. But the rebels have an ion cannon that can be used to clear the way for people who are escaping. Awesome. And it just happens to be pointed, because you can't really move it. If you look at the shot of it going, pew, like it's just in one direction. And that's it. If there's no, and the other problem, and this is a problem in Star Wars movies, Hoth's a planet. It's a round planet like Earth. It's not flat like Earth. It's round like Earth. And so you've got, let's say the base is here. Okay, let's say the base is in this corner, and the Empire's got their Star Destroyers, and I'm going to do this beautiful rendering of Star Destroyers, and you're going to think they're real. You're going to be like, wow, that looks exactly like the Star Destroyer. I even added in a third, because I'm not as arrogant as the Empire. I think they need 3. Now, there's this whole other part of space called space that they could fly off into, and it's always bothered me that while they're getting an ion cannon ready that's pointed directly at these, why didn't the Empire park their ships over here? Because nobody's smart enough to look in that direction. How did they just happen to go in the right way? Oh, look. Yep, there's the base, because we went to the right part of the planet instead of going behind. Like, Vader force chokes and kills somebody for going too close to the planet when they jump out of hyperspace. I'd force choke them to death for not jumping to the other side of the bloody planet. It's the only time Phantom Menace was stupid. They went to the wrong side of the planet when they invaded. It was stupid. This doesn't make any sense militarily at all. The Empire's here. Go that way. Go this way. And after you go this way, after you're in space, guess what? You can jump to light speed. You can go in any direction you want at that point, except back towards the ships, because you run into them. That whole battle has always driven me nuts. Even when I was a kid, and as cool as it is, visually stunning and it's fantastic, and yet it doesn't make any sense. So there's the battle on Hoth. There you go. There's my takedown of Empire. My problem with Empire. No. No. No, he can't. He won't. He can't. Yeah, I will. Yoda. Yoda is this great, magnificently smart Jedi Master. Right? Luke happens to be heading directly towards the spot on Dagobah he is. Again, Dagobah is a planet. It's a big, round sphere. And he just happens to come to the part where Yoda is. All he knows is Obi-Wan saying he's on a planet called Dagobah. Alright. He doesn't know where he is on that planet. Just imagine if somebody said, hey, I want you to meet this guy Bill. He's on Earth. Okay. And then they just happen to land at your house. He doesn't know that Yoda's another creature. He doesn't know. And did Yoda know he was coming? Did Ben tell him he was coming? Did the Force tell him he was coming? Because this is another problem I have with the original trilogy. The Force ghosts only speak to you when it's convenient for the plot line, when George Lucas goes, I don't know how to make this work. Not when, I don't know, when you need them to, while you're fighting with Darth Vader and he's threatening your sister. No, Obi-Wan doesn't get involved then. No, just when you're needing to go to Dagobah while you're freezing to death. Yeah, Ben didn't tell you you might want to pack some warm clothes because you're going to freeze to death on Hoth. No, he's not worried about that. You got to go to Dagobah after you're done dying. Yoda decides he's going to train Luke because, of course he does. He dicks him around for 15 minutes of movie time. The biggest problem I have is, while he's on Dagobah, Han and Leia, they go to the Lando system to meet with Lando Calrissian and his fridge people. And they're on this wonderful Cloud City for who knows how long. And all of this happens. They go to this system and they make themselves at home, and Leia puts on a new outfit and redoes her hair in a very time-consuming manner on Cloud City. Yoda runs around, or Luke runs around with Yoda on his back. Does a couple of flips. That's his training. Then he picks up a rock and he picks up R2-D2. That's his training. When people talk about how Rey didn't need all of this training time, neither did Luke. Han and Leia went and had lunch. And then he has a vision that Leia's getting tortured and Han's getting tortured, and he's got to go take care of him. He has, what, 6 hours with Yoda? And he's like, screw you, I'm out of here? Most of the time he spends on Dagobah is eating food that he thinks tastes like crap and fighting with R2-D2 about how he doesn't feel good to a slug that's in this pond that he lands in. This swamp, slimy mud hole, my home this is. Yeah, most of it is Yoda beating on R2-D2 and all the fun little stuff that happens. R2-D2 doesn't recognize Yoda because, of course, the prequels weren't out then. So we didn't have that storyline that Yoda had already met R2-D2. And C-3PO was created by Anakin. Ugh. Anyhow, because you want to have a protocol droid to help you in the desert talk to machines and work machines. You know, he's a droid that gets, like, sand stuck in himself and he can barely walk. He's perfect for Mom when she's doing the harvest. God's sake. So Han and Leia are off getting tortured, because why not? The Force can speak to Luke light years away. So don't look at Last Jedi and talk about how ridiculous it is that Rey and Kylo can see each other. Because when Luke can feel them being tortured in the future while he's on Dagobah, I think we've thrown it all out the window. The Force binds the universe, meaning you can feel whatever you want from wherever you want. And then, oh, Snoke made that happen, and they don't get into how Snoke made that happen, and it doesn't matter, because they don't get into anything with Yoda either. And part of what makes Empire work is the tone. The movie takes itself seriously, and therefore you do as well. And when people talk about jokes, and this is the criticism that I've heard a lot with the two new movies. And I'm gonna write on the board here the difference between the jokes in the original trilogy and the jokes in the new movies. See if you can follow. They're funny. The jokes in the original trilogy and the jokes in the George Lucas doesn't write jokes particularly well. He doesn't write dialogue particularly well. The biggest line in Empire, I love you, I know. The I know was improv by Han Solo's actor, Harrison Ford, because the line was, I love you too. And he's like, Han wouldn't say that. Han would say, yeah, I know. And it's a great line. The dialogue in the new movies is genuinely funny. Do you talk or do I talk? Do you talk? Do I talk? I'm on hold. I'm waiting for Hugs. Is it Hugs with a GS? Hugs? General Hugs? It's funny. Everybody in the theater laughs. Everybody in the theater laughed at Yoda in Empire. But the other biggest thing that makes Empire work, it was released in 1980. Most of us were little kids when it came out. I was 7 when it came out. I saw it in the theater when I was 7. All of the holes I just punched in Empire, I didn't think of them when I was 7. I knew there were things that bugged me about it, but I didn't really get into those problems until I was a teenager, late teens. Late teens, early 20s, I realized, wow, AT-ATs are really stupid. I mean, they're cool, and they're big, and they're lumbering, but they're really stupid. And then, and going back to the AT-ATs, the idea that they're impenetrable, you can't beat their armor, well, until they fall over. So if their legs get tangled up and they fall down, then you can just shoot them and they blow up. And you just shoot from the top, morons. Apparently, they don't have any shields over top. They just have it in the front. 1980, you have no internet. You don't have the movie reviews you have now. And the movie reviews in 1980 for Empire Strikes Back were not particularly kind to the movie. There were a lot of people that didn't like it. It had a different tone from the original Star Wars. They felt it wasn't as fun. They didn't like the new characters. They didn't like the new settings. They thought it was too dark and too depressing. They thought it was kind of stupid. They didn't understand this whole Force thing. They thought it was ridiculous. For those of us who got it, those of us who became Star Wars geeks as kids, little kids, we enjoyed it. We could look past all of the flaws. Well, now we're adults. So 37 years later, out comes Last Jedi, and of course people are going to pull it apart. Yeah, there are things about Last Jedi that I thought were kind of weird or kind of odd or put me off, but you know what? It's still a damn good movie. And in the end, Star Wars is just a movie. It's easy to take it too seriously, and it's easy to say, it's part of my childhood. It's like the whole George Lucas ruined my childhood thing with prequels. People who say their childhood was ruined by George Lucas need to crack open a window and get more air. Because your childhood is more than Star Wars. I love these movies a ton. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I still see this as the best movie. I still see that as the best movie. But for me, The Force Awakens is second. The Last Jedi is third. Return of the Jedi would be fourth. And A New Hope is at the bottom. The prequels? Oh, they're not on here. Because we're not talking about the prequels. Last Jedi and Force Awakens are a way of taking us out of just the Luke Skywalker storyline, taking us out of the Darth Vader storyline, taking us away from the Skywalkers. It's a whole universe. It's massive. And it's not what George Lucas originally intended. That's why these movies feel different. That's why fans get upset. It's not Lucas's vision. George Lucas's vision was the idea that the third trilogy would be all about a Vader cult too, and Luke Skywalker running around the galaxy trying to stop this new empire from rising. It's not about that. Last Jedi wasn't about Luke. The Empire Strikes Back was. But The Empire Strikes Back also had Yoda, and it had Lando. And Last Jedi had a different version of Lando. played by Benicio del Toro. I wouldn't be surprised if in episode 9 something happens and he redeems himself. Because he shows in that movie, if you pay him money, he'll look the other way. So all the Resistance has to do in episode 9 is just throw him some more money. I'm trying to avoid spoilers in this, because I know there's people who still haven't seen Last Jedi. And if you haven't seen Last Jedi because of negative reviews, don't buy it. And I know there's people who don't like the new trilogy, but you know what's funny? I've known plenty of people for decades who hate Star Wars movies. They think they're really stupid. They've always thought they were really stupid. They didn't watch them. They didn't like them when they did watch them. But there are people who go into these movies, and I've seen people do this. I know when Force Awakens came out, coworkers and myself, we were all talking about how great it was. And there were people that I would hear saying, well, I've never seen a Star Wars movie, but I'll go watch this because everybody's talking about it. And as soon as I hear that, I go, you're not going to like it. And sure enough, they'd come out and they'd say, I didn't like it. I don't doubt they didn't like it. But they go in with this idea that this is something I don't really want to do, but I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it. And so you're immediately going to have a negative impression. A lot of Star Wars fans, and by a lot I mean a minority, have this idea that Star Wars is somehow sacred and should never be changed. Wrong. George Lucas himself has been changing Star Wars since 1997 when he started screwing around with the special effects for Star Wars Empire and Return of the Jedi. It was Lucas that decided that Luke should be screaming in Empire Strikes Back when he jumps away from his father, revealing he's his father. And let's be honest, if you take out Luke, I'm your father, the Empire Strikes Back kind of loses something. It is that pivotal moment that we all think about. That great moment in Star Wars history that we all think about that makes Empire a fantastic movie. So maybe you don't look at the battle on Hoth and see the problems with it. Maybe you don't look at the fact that he just jumps to Cloud City in what? Half an hour? 10 minutes? 15? Because in Star Wars, you have this giant galaxy, and it takes 10 minutes to go from here to here, or 15 to go from here to here, or maybe a couple of days. It depends on the storyline. But, like the whole Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, I think everybody's doing the Kessel Run in 0 parsecs. Because the fact is that the Kessel Run is supposed to be this great magical thing, and yet if you compare its distance to some of the distance in these actual movies, and I'm a geek, I've got the books, yeah, it's nothing. I kind of get it. It's like when Lord of the Rings goes from book to movie, you can't show that the journey takes 6 to 7 months or 8 months, however long it took. That's fine. You've got to condense it. In Star Wars, it's kind of ridiculous how quickly they go from point A to point B. When, and I'll mention the prequels in this, when they go to Mustafar, when Anakin's like, oh, I don't know, Padme's kind of sick and I'm getting these feelings, and Palpatine goes, okay, well, go kill some kids, because that'll help. And Anakin goes, okay, I'll go kill some kids, that'll help Padme. And so he kills some kids because that'll help Padme, and then he decides to go to Mustafar, which takes a second and a half to get there. It's in the Outer Rim. The Outer Rim is always regarded as this really distant area, but not when you're in the movie. It takes 5 seconds to get there. And after killing some kids, he then runs into Padme. He's like, yo, what's up? And she's like, did you kill kids? And he's like, you betrayed me. And then he decides to choke her, because that's what you do when you love somebody so much that you kill kids for them. Yeah. And this is why when people say, oh, Last Jedi's ruining the whole Star Wars universe, good. Because Anakin killed children, and then they redeemed him at the end of Return of the Jedi. In Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin decides it's time to off some kids, and they call them younglings in the movie because you can't call them children, when he decides it's time to off younglings, I'm sorry, you can't redeem that character. You can't. At least Kylo's a torn soul, and he's what Anakin should have been in the original trilogy. Anakin should have been angry. He should have been confused. He should have been easily influenced, and it shouldn't have just been, I had a bad dream. Yeah, I know, you had a bad dream. You want to go kill some kids? You'll feel better. You know what? You're right. I will go kill some children. But yeah, we don't want to ruin the whole Star Wars mythology, because, what happened with the prequels, that was fantastic. The mythology, again, Empire, 1980. 37 years of that mythology being built up. And Last Jedi's had a week. A week. And I'm already hearing people that didn't like it the first time they watched it, they go back, they watch it again, and they like it more. And people who liked it, going back, seeing it a second time and going, wow, I picked up stuff the second time around I didn't see the first time. I like it more now. I've seen Empire Strikes Back at least 100 times. I've memorized the whole damn thing. I've memorized the whole original trilogy. But they're not Shakespearean, fantastic, flawless wonders. They create a universe that you believe in if you're a Star Wars geek and you appreciate it. But for me, the idea of tearing that universe apart to create something bigger and better, I have no problem with that. I don't mind what Disney's done with it because the prequels killed it. The prequels absolutely killed it. And if George Lucas had made episodes 7, 8, and 9 as he wanted them to be, I guarantee you we'd be sitting here talking about how episode 8 was terrible. And I'd be right on board with you guys. That it's just furthering the destruction of what the original trilogy was. Lawrence Kasdan made Empire fantastic. George Lucas didn't have as much to do with Empire as he did with Star Wars. That's why the tone's completely different. That's why it's directed completely differently. He basically hears what's going to happen, and then it was changed by a director who knew how to make a fantastic movie. And made the movie so well and so rich in every area of its being that it could overcome some thin dialogue, some kind of lame dialogue, and that it could overcome its faults. The faults I outlined before. This is why 37 years from now, if I'm still on this planet, I'm probably talking about how the third trilogy was the best trilogy. Anyways, that's my soapbox. That's Empire. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And I understand that this opinion is just my opinion. I don't expect anybody to share it. I just wanted to throw out there my honest opinion of some of the stuff in Empire that drives me nuts. Because there's stuff in a lot of movies that drives me nuts. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate the movie, and I don't appreciate what they did in making it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.